let me remind them then. And 2 minutes for no member.
2 minutes for observance, yes.
Please take your seats. Please be seated.
Okay, let's start.
Good afternoon, everybody. Before we start, I wish to inform you that at the Bureau, we discussed this afternoon the proposal put forward by Australia to open a general discussion or general debate on item 8. But the Bureau consider that this debate should be rather occurred in conjunction with item 12A on Tuesday. So we will not discuss it today. We'll discuss it with item A on Tuesday. And the other issue regarding the management of our time, please, it will be 3 minutes for the member and 2 minutes for the observer because we don't have time at all. Now, we will proceed with our agenda item 8A, devoted to the tentative list and to the draft decision 42-8A. I invite Mr. Balsamo from the World Heritage Center to briefly present document 8A. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Document 42-8A presents the tentative list of all state parties submitted in conformity with the operational guidelines as of 15 April 2018. And in particular, Annex 1 presents the overall situation relative to tentative lists. Annex 2 of Document 8A presents all the new tentative lists or addition to existing tentative lists which have been submitted by state parties since what the World Heritage Committee took note of at its last session in Krakow. And Annex 3 presents a list of all properties submitted on tentative lists received from state parties in alphabetical and regional order. As of 15 April 2018, of the 193 state parties which had ratified the convention at that date, 183 had submitted tentative lists in accordance with the requirements specified in the operational guidelines, and 10 state parties had not submitted any tentative list. All the nominations submitted for examination in 2018 are included on the tentative list of the state parties concerned. And since the preparation of Document 8A for the 41st session of the committee in 2017, up until 15th of April last, 36 state parties have submitted new tentative lists or modified their existing lists. And the number of new properties added to existing tentative list is 88, which brings the total of sites currently included on the tentative list up to 1,714. Decision 42-8A is on page 2 of both the English and French version of the document you have in front of you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balassamo, for the presentation. I would like now to know if you have any comments about the agenda. Any comments? No. So now I invite you to adopt the draft decision 42-8A. But before that, I ask the reporter if you have any amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and a good afternoon to all colleagues. We haven't received any amendments to the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dear colleague, I would like to recall before the proceeding with the examination of the item 8B that all the congratulations, please, should be held outside the plenary, because we don't have time to just take the floor and congratulate. It will last a very long time. So please, all the congratulations should be outside the plenary. Thank you very much. And now I therefore declare the draft decision 42-8A adopted. So now this. It is now time for us to consider nominations of property toward heritage lists. I would like to recall that the relevant working document concerning nomination are 8B and 8B added. The advisory body's evaluation can be found in the information document ICOMOS INF 8B1 and INF 8B1 added, and IUCN info or 8B2 and info 8B2 added. Let me also recall that documents in INF 8B3 presents the list of all the nominations received by 1st February 2018, with the indication of those which were deemed complete. This nomination will not be discussed during our debate here, as they are foreseen to be examined at our next committee session in 2019. Document INF 8B4 presents factual errors identified by state party in the advisory body evaluations, and it was distributed to you on Monday, the first day of the committee session. I now invite the Secretariat to present this document and read out the list of nomination for which factual errors notification have been received, and and to some explanation, maybe, and to give some explanation. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In accordance with paragraph 150 and Annex 12 of the operational guidelines, the notification of factual errors as submitted by the concerned state parties and reviewed by the relevant advisory body are presented in the language in which they have been submitted. It is important to recall that Annex 12 of the operational guidelines is the official format of submission of factual errors identified in the advisory body's evaluations, and only notifications received by the statutory deadline and submitted in the appropriate form of Annex 12 have been made available and included in document INF 8B4. The comments made by the advisory bodies in the right column indicate whether the information submitted is considered as a factual error or not. And this year we received 18 factual errors notifications concerning the following nomination to be examined at this session: Iran, Aras Baran Protected Area; Canada, Pimacho Aki; Mexico, Tehuacan Cahuatitlan Valley, originary habitat of Mesoamerica; Belgium, France, funeral and memorial sites of the First World War Western Front; Belgium, Netherlands, colonies of benevolence; China, historic monuments and sites of ancient Guangzhou, Saiton; and Denmark, Haseva Visaitui, Nipisat, Inuit hunting ground between ice and sea; France, historic urban ensemble of Nimes; Germany, the archaeological border landscape of Edebay and the Dannevirk; Iran, Sassanid archaeological landscape of Far regions; Italy, Ivrea industrial city of the 20th century; Italy, le colline del Prosecco di Conegliano e Vadobbiene; Japan, Eden Christian sites in the Nagasaki region; Oman, ancient city of Kalat; Republic of Korea, Sansa Buddhist mountain monasteries in Korea; Saudi Arabia, Al-Aqsa oasis, an evolving cultural landscape; Spain, Caliphate city of Medina Sahara; and Turkey, Göbekli Tepe. And before the presentation of the concerned nominations by the advisory bodies, the Secretariat will announce the related factual error notification received. And if the notification of factual error has an impact on the proposed statement of OUVD amendment, is already included on the text that will be shown on the screen in track changes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balsamo. Are there any objection or comments? No. No. So thank you very much. We will continue. Let me now move to the first draft decision of the document 8B concerning proposal changes to names of properties already inscribed on the World Heritage List. I invite Mr. Balsamo to present this item, please. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first request for a name change concerns the site of Jelling Mounds, Runic Stones and Church from Denmark, inscribed in 94. And the draft decision of this proposal following the technical review of ICOMOS of this proposal is for not approval. I will then stop for each of the draft decision, if you allow me, so we may consider this first proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Is there any objection or any comments? No. Okay. So I now invite invite you, Mr. Balsamo. Is there any other comment? No? Thank you very much. So now we will adopt the draft decision 42 8B 1, 8B2, 8B3, and 8B4. And before that, we would like to know if there is any amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We didn't receive amendments to the draft decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I therefore declare draft decision 42, 8B1, 8B2, 8B3, and 8B4 adopted. So our next point deals with the withdrawals of nomination to be examined by this session of the committee. I invite Mr. Balsamo to read out the list of the nominations withdrawn at the request of the concerned state party. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A total of 5 nominations were withdrawn. 2 of them were withdrawn prior to the publication of document 8B, while the other 3 were withdrawn after the publication of this document. And the 5 withdrawals are the following: Germany, the Jewish Cemetery Hamburg-Altona; Canada, Trondheim-Klondike; Japan, Amami-Oshima Highland, Tokunoshima Highland, the northern part of Okinawa Highland, and Iriomote Highland; Indonesia, Age of Trade, Old Town of Jakarta, formerly Old Batavia, and 4 outlying islands, Rust, Kelor, Chipir, and Bidadari; and United Arab Emirates, Cordoba, a traditional merchant harbor. Following these withdrawals, the committee will have to examine 28 nominations. Among them, 5 are for natural sites, 3 for mixed sites, and 20 for cultural sites. Just let me take this opportunity to remind that the complete PDF versions of all the nominations which are examined at this session have been made progressively available on consultation, for consultation on a secured web page of our website. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any comments? Okay, thank you very much. As we begin with this, with the examination of the nomination, I would like to take this opportunity to recall that committee decisions are based on objective and scientific considerations, and any appraisal made on its behalf must be thoroughly and responsibly carried out. The committee recognizes that such decisions depend upon a carefully prepared documentation, b thorough and consistent procedures, c evaluation by qualified experts, and d, if necessary, the use of expert referees. The document is requested, the committee is requested to examine the draft decisions presented in the relevant document, and in accordance with paragraph 153 of the operational guidelines and take its decisions. I wish to stress that for the referred nomination, there is no new nomination file to the prepared and there to be prepared, and there is no evaluation mission of the relevant advisory body foreseen to the site, also in compliance with the convention and the operational guidelines. Outstanding universal value is recognized at the time of the inscription of a property on the World Heritage List, and no recognition of outstanding universal value if foreseen prior to value is foreseen prior to this stage. I would like to appeal to you all for a strict respect of these important rules during our debate and our decision making. We can now proceed with the examination of nominations. This year, we will begin with cultural nomination. We will proceed with mixed nomination, forward by natural nomination. The order of the examination of nominations is listed on page 3 of both English and French version of documents 8B, and I would kindly ask you to follow this order to the extent possible. For ease of reference, the page numbers of the evaluation and the advisory body documents are also shown in the PowerPoint presentations. I am going to call on ICOMOS and IUCN to be concise in their presentation, as you will be allocated 5 to 8 minutes to present each nomination depending on its category. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. Before we start examination nomination, I give the floor to the advisory bodies for a brief presentation. ICOMOS and IUCN, you have the floor. Excuse me. I now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination of Thimilish Ohinga Archaeological Site, Kenya. The draft decision concerning this nomination can be found in document 8B added. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Thimilish Ohinga is a referred back nomination which was first considered by the World Heritage Committee in 2015. At the time, the property was presented as a cultural landscape, and the committee recommended to reconceptualize the nomination as an archaeological site with an augmented comparative analysis. The committee suggested cooperation between ICOMOS and the state party, also in view of a needed boundary and buffer zone extension. An advisory mission to the property was undertaken in October 2017. Teamlicher Hinga is an archaeological site, a complex of dry stone settlement enclosures called Ohinga, or Ohingni in plural, that date to the 14th century. They are located northwest of Migori town in the Lake Victoria region. Teamlicher Hinga comprises one main Ohinga with several extensions and 3 adjacent Ohingni. The overall size of the property is 21 hectares, which is surrounded by a buffer zone of 33 hectares. The main Ohinga is referred to as Koshieng, while the others are called Kakuku, Kokech, and Koluoch. Each of the Ohingni has internal enclosures as well as smaller extensions adjacent to them, which accommodated homesteads, livestock, and craft industries. The dry stone enclosures in Teamlicher Hinga document a specific concept of sustainable land use, which served different socioeconomic and linguistic groups through time. Its sustainability was ensured through the continuous transmission and maintenance tradition and knowledge of the traditional masonry techniques through apprenticeship. The walls range from 1.5 to 2.5 meters in height, with an average thickness of 1 meter. Circular depressions are associated with food preparation and storage. These depressions may also have been used for other functions, including fire pits or drying grain. Teamlicher Hinga archaeological sites illustrates interior enclosure structures of various kinds, including cattle kraals or pens and garden fences. From 2007 onwards, a systematic archaeological study was carried out by the National Museums of Kenya to determine the content and possible functions on some of the features found within or in association with the large stone-walled enclosures. Further archaeological research was conducted in 2017 to better substantiate the referred back nomination. Teamlicher Hinga exhibits a sophisticated system of dry stone wall masonry, which created meticulously arranged 3-faced, undressed stone walls, which have remained structurally stable over centuries. The walls are constructed in a 3-phase design, an outer and an inner phase of neatly arranged stones of all shapes and sizes, and a middle phase consisting of smaller stones, with the middle holding the stones of the inner and outer phases of the wall together. The nominated property serves also as a meeting venue for the community, where issues affecting them are deliberated. It also remains a location of community rituals, in particular in times of crisis. Based on the additional information provided, ICOMOS is now pleased to conclude that the property meets criteria 3, 4, and 5, and that the conditions of authenticity and integrity have been demonstrated. Integrity will be further strengthened once the full protection of the visual setting of the property is ensured. To ensure this, ICOMOS recommends to further expand the property beyond the extensions already proposed at its southeastern end and to fully correspond with the decision of the committee at its 39th session, as well as to further expand the buffer zone. ICOMOS recommends that Teamlicher Hinga Archaeological Site Kenya be inscribed on the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 3, 4, and 5. ICOMOS further recommends to establish a single database bringing together all available information on the property, to establish a comprehensive monitoring system, and to consider any further infrastructure or other developments in the site or the vicinity carefully by means of heritage impact assessments before their approval. Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comments from... No?
Brazil.
No amendment.
Brazil.
Brazil, I haven't seen. The Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, at the outset, Brazil should like to thank ICOMOS for its presentation. Sorry, some magnetic interference. Brazil should like to thank ICOMOS for its presentation and commend Kenya for proposing this nomination. It is clear, Madam Chair, that the case before us show how much a state party can benefit from upstream advice. Even though the committee had decided at its 39th session to refer this nomination back to the state party, the content of this decision was rather of a deferral, which allowed Kenya, with the support of ICOMOS, to present a new revised nomination with expanded research, documentation, mapping, and stronger comparative analysis and justification of OUV. The committee, if it wishes to change a deferred recommendation into decision of referral, it should at least take a clear instance on what is being recommended to the state party and on the possible role that can be played by ICOMOS. We therefore congratulate Kenya and ICOMOS for the joint work to make the dossier ready for inscription at this present session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Brazil, please. Zimbabwe, please, excuse me. Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zimbabwe joins Brazil in thanking the government of Kenya and ICOMOS for working on this dossier over the last few years and ensuring that we now get a well-completed dossier. Coming from Zimbabwe and seeing the Timi Chohinga archaeological site, I am reminded of the great Zimbabwe, and therefore I am happy to find a relative on the World Heritage List. I therefore would like to really commend the state party for this site and to congratulate them on inscription of this property, which is the largest and the best preserved of these dry stone walled enclosures. So I really hope that we will be working together very closely in management and preservation of our sites. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Australia, please.
Madam Chair, Australia also supports the inscription of the Timi Chohinga site in Kenya. We're very pleased to do so, and like my previous committee speakers, we also congratulate the state party in having addressed all the concerns of the 2015 decision and have worked so closely with ICOMOS. In reading this dossier, we were fascinated and impressed by the technical skill and aesthetics of the dry stone walls and the distinctive patterning of the traditional pastoral settlement. The property is an excellent addition to the site types and the values represented on the World Heritage List, and importantly, the inscription also addresses the objective of the global strategies in increasing the representation of the African sites on the list. So our congratulations to Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wish to open by saying that this convention is the most powerful and recognized tool for protection and conservation of the most precious natural and cultural heritage we have in the world. And we, as members of the committee, have been elected by the 193 states parties to this convention to be the guardians of the outstanding universal value. And what makes the World Heritage unique amongst many other very important and significant conventions and mechanisms is the outstanding universal value, which we recognize at the time of inscription. And also, we like to emphasize that the OEV is carried by the three pillars of criteria, authenticity, integrity, and protection and management. We would also like to emphasize the importance of working in line with the principles of the global strategy, where we still have a long way to go. And finally, our decisions in the committee must be based on objective and scientific considerations. And we should aim to be constructive, work together, and contribute towards consensus decisions in line with the requirements of the operational guidelines and advice provided. And this is why I want to say, Napenda kumpongeza Kenya. Congratulations. We have before us a World Heritage property, which is a wonderful example of an African site where the traditional management system enhances and supplements the formal legal protection and management system. The property remains a location for community rituals and meetings, and the formal mechanisms are thus significantly enhanced by traditional rules and taboos maintained by community elders, which assist in protection of the property as well as its surrounding flora and fauna. It is of utmost importance that this strong community-based involvement and attachment is ensured for the future, and that any facilitation for development projects and further tourism to the site are sustainable and in respect of the true guardians of this remarkable site. We have taken note of the very successful collaboration between Kenya and ICOMOS, realizing the full potential of the upstream process, allowing the state party in due time to return to the World Heritage Committee with a successful high-quality nomination. Norway fully supports the draft decision, and we have full confidence that the state party will observe in particular para 4 of the draft decision. Norway would strongly welcome this site to the World Heritage List. Asante sana, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Spain, please. Spain.
Gracias, señora Presidente. En primer lugar, agradecer y felicitar el trabajo realizado por el Gobierno de Kenia con este bien, un magnífico ejemplo de fortificación de sabana, un ejemplo de arquitectura en seco, por cierto, nada ajena a los países del Mediterráneo. Pero también es un ejemplo del buen trabajo de un país parte con los órganos consultivos. Ese RIFER del año 2015 ha servido para hacer un expediente mucho más sólido, consistente y que estamos seguros que para el futuro facilitará la gestión y la conservación y protección de este sitio. Felicidades y muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Tunisia, please. Tunisia.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie voudrait exprimer sa satisfaction de voir le processus lent d'aboutissement de ce site devant nous aujourd'hui a été mené de concert avec toutes les parties et notamment avec les composantes consultatives de notre processus et que notamment le processus de conseil en amont a porté amplement ses fruits. Nous nous félicitons de cet état d'esprit et nous appuyons absolument cette inscription et nous voulons souhaiter à ce site de faire place et une place significative dans notre patrimoine universel.
Thank you very much. Cuba, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora Presidenta. Cuba se suma a los países que reconocen la encomiable labor realizada por el Estado parte para reformular el expediente a partir de las recomendaciones realizadas y aboga por la inclusión del sitio en la lista. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Uganda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The delegation of Uganda joins all the other delegations in commending this heritage site for its nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bosnia, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Nous voudrions aussi nous joindre aux autres collègues en félicitant l'État parti pour l'excellent travail dans la préparation de ce dossier. Et nous pensons que ce dossier montre une très bonne coopération entre l'État parti et ICOMOS. Et aussi, nous voudrions aussi nous féliciter d'une forte participation de la communauté locale dans la préparation du dossier. Et nous félicitons encore une fois l'État parti pour l'inscription. Merci.
Thank you very much. Now, Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Azerbaijan also would like to congratulate the State Party for this excellent nomination, which testifies the settlement patterns and spatial community relations in the Lake Victoria Basin. Also, the successive occupation by different people from the various linguistic origins during an important episode in the migration and the settlement of the Lake Victoria Basin between 16th and 17th centuries. It also gives a reference to habitation patterns, livestock cultivation and craft practices prevalent in communal settlements at this time. The Azerbaijan commends the conservation and the management efforts of the State Party and also the cooperation with the advisory body, which resulted in this successful nomination, and that's why we would like to join in congratulating the inscription. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to China, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. China wishes to join all the other speakers in congratulating Kenya, the State Party of Kenya, for the successful inscription of Tinglika Ohinga archaeological site. It's a wonderful work of collaboration between the State Party and the advisory body. We congratulate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania also want to take this opportunity to commend Kenya for nomination, and in the same vein to encourage Kenya to make possible efforts to implement the recommendation of the World Heritage Center and its advisory bodies on expanding the property boundary, establishing a single database and monitoring system, and furthermore undertaking comprehensive heritage impact assessment for any infrastructure developed in and around the property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. There is no other comment, I think. Okay, the reporter, if you have any amendments, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, we haven't received any amendments. However, if I may, I would like to, at this point, make a request to the distinguished members of the committee. When submitting revision of amendments you have already submitted, please use track changes, because without track changes, we run the risk of involuntarily omitting something from your amendments. So please, if you send us a revised version of the amendments, send them in with the track changes. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now I therefore declare draft decision 42,8B14 adopted. Give the floor to the State Party. Let me, on your behalf, congratulate Kenya, and now I give Kenya the floor. Please, Kenya, you have the floor too.
Madam President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the inscription of Thimri Chohinga Archaeological Site on World Heritage List today marks one of our happiest moments in the history of World Heritage Convention. I wish to thank the distinguished committee for giving us an opportunity to share with the world this outstanding site. As already been indicated in the ICOMOS synthesis, the site was initially discussed during the 39th session of World Heritage Committee held in Bonn in 2015. Through the committee's decision, the site was refined for more work that included but not limited to augmenting the comparative analysis and extending the boundaries of the site. Through the support of World Heritage Center and ICOMOS, Kenya received financial and technical support to revise the nomination dossier. The State Party of Kenya, therefore, wishes to sincerely thank the World Heritage Center for its financial assistance and ICOMOS for its untiring support made through numerous Skype meetings with the National Museums of Kenya scientists. Further, I wish to thank ICOMOS for the mission to the site in the framework of upstream process that enhanced the nomination dossier. Sincere gratitude also goes to the experts from Uppsala University and the University of Nairobi for their participation to deliver a successful dossier. Madam President, we have a lot of faith on the upstream process. We have seen it work. We wish to thank the committee for giving us a second chance with this site and for your favorable decision today. I wish to pledge on behalf of State Party Kenya that we shall endeavor to implement the 5 recommendations in the decision to further enhance the protection of Thimri Chohinga archaeological site. Plans to extend the boundary of the site are advanced stage to acquire more land on southeastern section of the site. We shall make requisite report within the time frame indicated in the decision. It is our hope that with continued support by advisory bodies, Kenya will enhance protection of this site and advance standards on other fortification within Kenya, which has over 500 dry stone fortification of the same time period as Thimri Chohinga. Kenya also extends an invitation to interested researchers in the discipline of archaeology and architecture to consider further research on this dry stone fortification in Kenya. In Swahili, I say, asante sana. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And now we turn to the second site, and I now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination of the ancient city of Kalat, Oman. But before I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to announce that we received a factual error notification concerning the nomination of ancient city of Kalat from Oman, and this notification is to be found on page 76 of the English version of document in faith before, and on page 80 of the French version of the same document. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now I give ICOMOS the floor, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The ancient city of Kalat was an important port at the East Arabian coast, which flourished in the 11th to 15th century Christian era under the ruling of the Princes of Hormuz. Following Portuguese attacks, it was abandoned in the 16th century and has remained an archaeological site. The port city is located at the eastern coast of the Sultanate of Oman, approximately 20 kilometers north of the city of Sur. The former settlement stretches across a length of 1,600 meters and covers an overall area of 35 hectares. The nominated property includes the entire ancient city of Kalat, demarcated by its inner and outer walls, as well as areas outside the walls where the necropolis is situated. The ancient city of Kalat represents an exceptional testimony to the Kingdom of Hormuz, which flourished in the region of the Strait of Hormuz from the 11th to the 17th century. It was one of the few major trade hubs which came under the rule of the Princes of Hormuz and tremendously profited from its geopolitical position in the region. In the 13th century, Kalat likely controlled most of the Indian Ocean trade. The city was not only visited and seasonally resided in by various rulers, but also served as a refuge during times of conflict and a place of exile. It hence had a strategic trade and defense importance, but also political relevance to the Kingdom of Hormuz. The historic city has been divided into several quarters for the purpose of archaeological documentation. The central quarter is located between two wadis and has been identified as the most ancient part of the city, dating back to around 1100 CE. Other quarters are dominated by private dwellings with clusters of residences and other functions organized around squares. Recent excavations discovered a small mosque, a private dwelling, and what was likely a store. The urban plan and the excavated buildings of Kalat show features and characteristics specific to the Kingdom of Hormuz, and the archaeological remains are its most complete representation and provide further potential for more detailed understanding of its ways of life and trade. In addition to the architectural and urban attributes, the property is supported by societal traditions, including visits made to the Bibi Mariam mausoleum by the local population for blessings and offerings. Before the property was closed to public for conservation, the section of the site around Bibi Mariam was protected by the residents of a neighboring village, and this guardianship tradition will be reactivated as part of a future visitor concept. As an abandoned archaeological site, Kalat's architectural and urban fabric and form remain authentic, almost untouched, as does its setting, with the exception of a highway touching the southwestern boundary. The property was systematically inventoried by means of digital photogrammetry, GIS, and documentation of the visible structures in situ as part of archaeological research and conservation activities. A site-specific documentation center has been established to provide a central archive of site-related information, and conservation works are presently underway and aim to be completed by 2019. In June 2018, the State Party, with its factual error letter, submitted revised maps with adjusted boundaries and a finalized management plan, which seems to have been formally adopted. However, this information arrived too late to be considered within this evaluation report. Therefore, our evaluation report concludes in recognizing that criteria 2 and 3 have been demonstrated, but that integrity needs to be improved by means of a boundary adjustment. This is also reflected in this overview, where boundaries are required to include the seashores, as documented in the latest maps received, and a management and conservation plan remained to be finalized. In conclusion, ICOMOS recommended referral based on these missing elements, as well as to strengthen human capacities, in particular in relation to continuous site management and conservation methods and skills. ICOMOS further recommends to approach future developments with extreme caution, always applying heritage impact assessments before any developments are being approved, as well as to follow a minimum intervention approach to the conservation of archaeological remains. Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or inquiries? Bahrain, please. Here, Kuwait.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We commend the State Party of Oman for submitting this nomination to the World Heritage List. And as ICOMOS has just expressed, 2 criteria has already been met, in addition to the legal protection and other critical elements for any inscription. It is our understanding that the State Party has already taken some measures to ensure protection and management of the site, and we would kindly ask you to give the floor to the State Party to present to the committee these efforts that took place that I think have addressed the requirements needed for inscriptions, and we have submitted an amendment with regards to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Kuwait, please. Kuwait.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciation of ICOMOS evaluation and their recognition of the value of the ancient city of Qalhat. We would like to highlight the commitment demonstrated by State Party by promptly responding to ICOMOS recommendation on the sites, and particularly those which are concerned with integrity in the light of the inclusion of the shoreline and exclusion of the highway out of the property. The issue of the highway was addressed due to the use of 2 different projections for the coordinates by different institutions, and this has been adjusted. Henceforth, the highway is excluded from the borders of the property. As for the shoreline, although it was protected by the government of the State Party, the Ministry of Heritage and Culture included the shoreline within its properties. As for the site management plan, it has been finalized, adopted, and shared with the advisory body. The plan addresses almost all concerns that came in the recommendations, including the human resources, the strengthening, and the local community engagement in the decision-making process, and the general heritage impact assessment. Although the visitor management is considered in the already prepared site management plan, the State Party is in the process of developing a comprehensive visitor management plan to include visitation master plan and more elaborated heritage impact assessment in conformity with ICOMOS 2011, also to address any future infrastructure within the site. My delegation commends the State Party for its prompt response and commitment, and we believe that this exceptional site deserves to be inscribed in criteria 2 and 3. Therefore, we are in full support with the amendment on the draft decision with the State Parties of Bahrain, Tanzania, and Tunisia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Azerbaijan congratulates the State Party with this very successful nomination, which indeed provides the exceptional archaeological evidence for the trade exchanges between the East Arabian coast, Indian, reaching as far as China and Southeast Asia. As such, the property provides evidence of the Indian Ocean trade networks which predated the arrival of the European powers. At the same time, the city was a twin city of the Hormuz and the second capital of the Kingdom of Hormuz, which acted as a refugee during the period of disorder and conflicts. As it was already stated by the ICOMOS, the criterion 2 and 3 has been justified with this nomination. The only missing elements were the minor boundary modification and the management plan, which are already also provided by the state party to the advisory bodies. So with this in mind, my delegation would like to join the previous speakers and for those amendments has been done for the inscription of this site. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While thanking ICOMOS for its report, Brazil wishes to express its deep appreciation to the State Party of Oman for presenting this nominated property, which, if inscribed, will surely enrich the World Heritage List. Brazil goes along with ICOMOS that Kalhat exhibits tangible traces of the unique exchange of the interchanges that the unique Kingdom of Hormuz, both culturally and commercially, enjoyed with East Africa, China, India, and beyond Southeast Asia, thus confirming justification of criteria 2 and 3, even though criteria 2 was not proposed by the state party concerned. We believe that the conditions of authenticity and integrity are fully demonstrated, though Brazil highly recommends that through a minor boundary modification procedure, the state party exclude the highway from the site borders and consider including the shoreline within the boundaries due to the significance of the sea in these exchanges of values that are reflected in the property. In our point of view, the committee should inscribe this property at the present session, considering all the recommendations proposed by ICOMOS, especially with regards to the proposed boundaries and the final adoption of the management plan. A draft amendment has been circulated in this regard, which has the full support of Brazil, but we would like to pose a question to ICOMOS if it is in agreement with the proposed statement of OUV. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Indonesia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Indonesia would like to comment on the work of the advisory bodies in evaluating the nomination of ancient city of Kalhat. We note that further consultation has been undertaken between the ICOMOS and Oman particularly in re-evaluating 3 criteria that could appropriately be considered for inscription in the World Heritage List. In this regard, Indonesia supports this proposal of distinguished other delegations from Bahrain and Kuwait and the others that has been make a statement to inscribe the ancient city of Kalhat based on 2 criteria, 2 and 3, which has been justified in the evaluation report. We also would like to commend the state party for its proposal to reduce the criteria for inscription. This is, in our view, will make it more visible for the state party to conserve the OUV of the property following inscription. We encourage the state party to take further steps in implementing the committee's recommendations. We underline the importance of management plan in ensuring the preservation, protection, and the conservation of the OUV property by enhancing the human resources capacity. We look forward, the state party, to finalizing the management plan in a holistic manner. We are also of the view that the state party could also take into account other important recommendations, particularly in strengthening monitoring system and undertaking the heritage impact assessment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, you have the floor.
شكرا سيدتي الرئيسة. أود أن أؤكد من خلال تدخلي هذا دعم تونس لتقديم تسجيل هذا الموقع الذي تأكدت القيمة العالمية الاستثنائية له في عدة جوانب، ونحن نثني على استجابة الدولة المقدمة لهذا الملف للشروط التقنية التي كانت قدمتها في مراحل متقدمة الهيئات الاستشارية. وبالتالي وعملا بكل هذه المعطيات نحن ندعم تسجيل هذا الموقع ونعتبره من المواقع التي ستعزز قائمة المواقع العالمية على لائحة اليونسكو. وشكرا.
شكرا لك. Now the floor is for Norway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have before us a highly interesting and important archaeological site which carries a significant potential for inclusion on the World Heritage List. We wish to emphasize the importance of observing the global strategy and furthermore our appreciation of seeing more World Heritage properties coming from the region in which we now have the privilege of being humble guests. We commend the State Party, having followed up closely on the advice provided by ICOMOS in various aspects of this nomination. We can only strongly encourage the continuation of what appears to be both a scientific, fruitful and cordial collaboration with mutual learning. We will strongly welcome the ancient city of Kalhat once the State Party has followed up and implemented ICOMOS recommendations and refined an already excellent nomination accordingly. We will listen very carefully to the State Party's clarification, and we will also wish to second the wise intervention by our distinguished colleague from Brazil, and we look forward to the response from ICOMOS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zimbabwe notes that the ancient city of Kalat represents a testimony of exceptional archaeological evidence for trade, exchanges between the East Arabian coast, India, and reaching as far as China and the rest of Southeast Asia. As such, the property provides evidence of the Indian Ocean trade networks, which predated the arrival of European colonial powers. The property exhibits physical evidence of cultural and commercial interchange of values extending to as far as East Africa. Zimbabwe therefore seconds the justification for inclusion of Criterion 2 on the basis of the cultural and commercial interchange of values within the trading range of the Kingdom of Hamas. Zimbabwe is of the view that the decision of the ancient city of Kalat proposed for nomination by the State Party of Oman be changed from referral to inscribed, as it has managed to demonstrate with no doubt the presence of outstanding universal values through Criterion 2 and 3. In addition, it has also fulfilled the conditions of authenticity as set out in paragraph 79 and 86 of the operational guidelines of the World Heritage Convention. We therefore support as Zimbabwe the amended decision proposed by Bahrain and other state parties. I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China takes note of the evaluation report of ICOMOS. In the evaluation process of the OUV of the ancient city of Kalhat, ICOMOS underlines that Kalhat exhibits the values of commercial and cultural interchange along the maritime trade route of the Hormuz Kingdom, and that as an important node city along the intercontinental trade route. Kalhat has preserved the multicultural heritage left over from the medieval cosmopolitan city. Therefore, China fully supports the amendment draft decision proposed by Bahrain and other committee members to inscribe the property into the World Heritage List. China believes that the State Party will continue its further study and take actions on the site to better implement the suggestions in the evaluation report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Australia similarly thanks Oman for this nomination of the wonderful site of Kalhat. Certainly the long history as a centre of trade and power over many centuries is remarkable. What we particularly noted was the integrity of the site as being exceptional in having archaeological remains that have remained undisturbed since the 16th century and that illustrate the role of the city in the networks of trade. We're very pleased to hear the progress of the State Party in addressing some of the recommendations in the evaluation report, and we look forward to hearing from the State Party. Australia will also support the draft amendments put forward by Bahrain and others to inscribe the property on the Criterion 2 and Criterion 3. And we look forward in future to learning much more about this site through further exemplary archaeological research, as we have heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Kyrgyzstan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The delegation of Kyrgyzstan joins the amendment proposed by Bahrain and other countries to inscribe the ancient city of Kalat, Oman, on the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, St. Kitts, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. St. Kitts and Nevis believes the State Party has adequately met the criteria for the site and the conditions for authenticity and integrity, and commend them for the work done in this nomination. We too support the amendment for the inscription of the ancient city of Kalhat, as has already been indicated by previous speakers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, Spain, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. España quiere también reiterar lo señalado por otras delegaciones en el valor que tiene este sitio arqueológico, que cumple, como ya se ha señalado, con los criterios 2 y 3 y con los principios de integridad y autenticidad. Y también, como ha señalado la delegación de Brasil y la delegación de Noruega, nos gustaría saber cuál ha sido el grado de cumplimiento de las recomendaciones que venían en el draft original, así como estamos a la escucha también de la respuesta de ICOMOS a la pregunta realizada por Brasil. Muchísimas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. And now, Tanzania, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, United Republic of Tanzania commends the State Party on the detailed and excellent work on this dossier of inscription of the ancient city of Kalhat in the Sultanate of Oman. Tanzania takes notes on the extraordinary effort realized by State Party on the preparation of the dossier on this old city, which was an important point of East Arabian coast, flourished on 11th and 15th century under the rule of Prince Hormuz. Delegation of Tanzania appreciated the comprehensive evaluation of the nomination dossier by ICOMOS, which considered that the comparative analysis justified consideration of this property of the World Heritage List. Tanzania notes that the ICOMOS fully agree that the criteria 2 and criteria 3 are justified. Madam Chair, as ICOMOS and State Party agree on OUV, integrity and authenticity, and also admit the management system of the site could be enhanced following some modification, the United Republic of Tanzania proposed that the ancient city of Kalhat be inscribed in the World Heritage List. Tanzania joined Bahrain, Kuwait, and Tunisia in the proposed amendment draft. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Hungary, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The Hungarian delegation supported the recommendation of ICOMOS, which advised that the nomination should be referred back to the State Party for slight additions and modifications. The most significant modifications which had to be made was the modification of the boundary of the proposed property in order to include the shoreline along the sea, as it had a great significance in the trade interaction at that time. Without this modification, the property could not have fulfilled the entire significance as a World Heritage Site. Hungary congratulates to the modifications made by the State Party and now supports the draft amendments submitted by Bahrain and other countries to inscribe the proposed property, the ancient city of Kalhat, in the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cuba, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. La delegación de Cuba también se suma a las felicitaciones que han dado las delegaciones que nos han precedido al Estado parte por las labores que ya venía desarrollando para la conservación de un sitio tan importante como la ciudad anciana, la ciudad antigua de Calar, por el testimonio que en sí misma recoge de todo un diálogo intercultural, comercial, que tenía lugar en un punto tan importante como este. Agradecemos también los intercambios y el diálogo que ha venido realizando los órganos de evaluación con el Estado concernido y estamos convencidos de que esto será muy importante para una inscripción de este sitio. Cuba también se suma a las enmiendas presentadas para que este bien sea inscrito. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I think now I give the ECOMOS to reply, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. The question asked, or the questions asked by the Honourable Delegation of Brazil concerned the changes of the boundaries as well as the Statement of Outstanding Universal Value that has been proposed. As mentioned in the presentation earlier, the State Party has indeed submitted a changed map which indicate changed boundaries as part of the factual error procedures, and these boundaries do cover the shoreline and exclude the highway as was requested in our evaluation report. With regard to the Statement of Outstanding Universal Value, in the evaluation of nominations in which ECOMOS recommends referral but acknowledges that outstanding universal value has been demonstrated, ECOMOS does prepare a Statement of Outstanding Universal Value, which then usually as a standard procedure is integrated into the decision on a provisional basis. Which gives the State Party and ECOMOS the opportunity over the course of the year to finalize the Statement of Outstanding Universal Value, which is then formally adopted in the following session. And we have only received the amendment now, so we did not have the opportunity to analyze the text submitted, but the usual procedure would be that the provisional Statement of Outstanding Universal Value that was prepared by ECOMOS would be integrated into the decision. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to our reporter to show us if there is the amendments. Definitely there is an amendment.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As it was noted during the discussions, we have received draft amendments from Bahrain, Kuwait, Tunisia, and Tanzania, and we have heard a great deal of support for these amendments from the floor. As you know, the original draft decision called for this property to be referred back to the State Party, and the proposed draft amendments would inscribe this property on the World Heritage List. Subsequently, this draft amendment now includes a provisional Statement of Outstanding Universal Value, and it includes the identification of criteria under which the property should be inscribed, an assessment of the conditions of integrity and authenticity, and we also have a statement on the protection and management requirements. Madam Chair, in the interest of time, I'm not going to read out all the proposed draft amendments, but you have them in front of you and you have them on the screen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the draft decision is in your front, on the screen. Is there any objection or any amendments? Spain, please, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Es en relación a las propuestas de modificación respecto no a la propuesta de inscripción, sino querría que explicaran los países que han propuesto de modificación por qué no quieren incluir las recomendaciones que se habían propuesto en la decisión original, que parecen sensatas, o si es porque ya ha habido conversaciones entre el Estado parte e ICOMOS sobre su intención de seguir dichas recomendaciones que desde el punto de vista técnico contribuyen a una mejor protección del bien. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you. Australia, please, you have the floor.
I just wanted to seek clarification. If we could scroll back to the text just above the proposed statement of outstanding universal value. Thank you. Could we just go up? It's very hard to see. No, other way. Sorry. Thank you. It's okay. I just wanted to be clear that the word provisional was in there and it zoomed past very quickly. So thank you. That's good.
It's acceptable, the text? Or you need clarification? No?
The original countries were asked to clarify.
Maybe Bahrain would like to clarify?
Yes, Madam Chair. As I have stated in my earlier intervention, that the State Party of Oman have already fulfilled some of these recommendations from ICOMOS, and I have requested kindly to give them the floor so that they can express to the committee all the efforts they have done to reassure the committee of their commitment of conserving and managing the sites in the appropriate manners that will meet the requirement of a World Heritage listing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Oman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving us the floor. We would like to thank ICOMOS for recognizing the OUV of the ancient city of Qalhat on the basis of criteria 2 and 3, its authenticity and integrity. As the work at the site has been continuing, the government of Oman has taken immediate actions to address all issues and most of the recommendations that ICOMOS evaluation report indicated. All these actions have been clearly presented, as been stated earlier, in the form of for the submission of factoral errors as shown in the document WHC 42com NB 8B4. Among these actions, the coordinates projection of the boundaries were officially adjusted and the shoreline was included in the property. This is officially attested in the property document of May 22, 2018, issued by our Ministry of Housing. The site management plan is completed and now officially approved and endorsed by the Minister of Heritage and Culture and in the process of implementation. The site management plan, published in paper and electronic format, implies strengthening the management capacities for its protection and maintenance in view of the reopening of the site to the public in the future. It also addresses tourism management and recommends the preparations of guidelines. The State Party fully agrees with ICOMOS' recommendation on the importance of conducting heritage impact assessment and consider that as a priority for the Ministry of Heritage and Culture. Meanwhile, the conservation guidelines are already in preparation and will include risk management and disaster response. The excavation and conservation work are joint since 2013 with the beginning of Qalhat development program, and there is a strong and coordinate interaction between the two actions. The Qalhat development program was launched with the purpose of increasing the historic and archaeological knowledge of the site, preserving its remains, and to enhance its importance for the public, all in respect of its authenticity and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any inquiries or more clarification, or shall we adopt it as it is in front of you in the screen? Is there any somebody?
Is there any objection?
I don't see any objection. Is there any objection? No objection. So can we adopt the decision? No objection. So I therefore declare draft decision 42-8B 15 adopted. On behalf of you all, I can congratulate Oman, and I give the floor to the representative of Oman to.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شكرا سيدة الرئيسة. دعيني في البداية أن أهنئ سعادتكم على انتخابكم رئيسة للدورة 42 للجنة التراث العالمي، وأهنئ مملكة البحرين الشقيقة على التنظيم الرائع لهذه الدورة، وعلى حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة الذي لمسناه وجميع المشاركين، وهو أمر ليس بغريب عن أصالة الشعب البحريني الشقيق. كما أود أن أحيي الإدارة المتميزة لسعادتكم لجلسات ومناقشات هذه اللجنة. شكرا للجنة التراث العالمي على اعتمادها اليوم قرارا لتسجيل مدينة قلهات الأثرية على قائمة التراث العالمي، لتكون هذه المدينة التاريخية الموقع الخامس المسجل لسلطنة عمان، ويأتي تسجيلها بعد مرور 3 عقود من الزمان منذ أن سجلت على القائمة التمهيدية للسلطنة عام 1988. تمكنت خلالها المؤسسات الرسمية والأهلية من العناية والحفاظ على مكنونات هذه المدينة التاريخية التي تعتبر واحدة من أندر المواقع الأثرية التي لم تمس بعد أن وفرت لها تضاريس حماية طبيعية أبعدتها عن أخطار النشاطات الحديثة. سيدة الرئيسة، إن إجماع لجنتكم الموقرة اليوم على تسجيل هذا الموقع على قائمة التراث العالمي يساهم في تقديم نموذجاً متماسكاً للعالم، وشاهداً لأول عاصمة لعمان قبل دخول الإسلام، وأحد أهم الموانئ البحرية التاريخية في منطقة المحيط الهندي التي كانت الرابط المحوري للتبادل التجاري بين الحضارات. إن هذا الموقع الذي يتميز بمساحته الشاسعة ويخفي تحت رماله أسرار هذه المدينة سيشكل فرصة علمية وأكاديمية ثرية لإجراء المزيد من المسوحات والتنقيبات الأثرية في السنوات القادمة، التي بلا شك ستساعد في الكشف عن المزيد من مكنونات هذه المدينة لتحويلها في المستقبل إلى مكان للجذب السياحي ليحقق العائد المستدام العام للمنطقة المحيطة به. إن سلطنة عمان وهي تبتهج لهذا القرار، فإنها تؤكد للجنة التراث العالمي الموقرة حرصها العمل فوراً على تنفيذ خطة إدارة الموقع بما يحقق الحماية والعناية بالموقع ويحافظ على ما تتميز به من قيم ثقافية استثنائية عالمية. مرة أخرى شكراً لسعادتكم، والشكر لأعضاء اللجنة والهيئات الاستشارية، خاصة الإيكوموس التي بذل خبرائها وسكرتاريتها الجهد الكبير في مراجعة وتقييم ملف الترشيح. وأخيراً وليس آخراً، الشكر والتقدير لمركز التراث العالمي على متابعته الدائمة لكل ما يخدم التراث العالمي الإنساني. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا لكم وألف مبروك للمرة الثانية. Now I invite ICOMOS to present the nomination of Al-Ahsa, OISIS, and Developing Cultural Landscape, Saudi Arabia. And before I give the floor to the Secretariat, I now invite Mr. Balsamo to give his comments. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to remind the committee that we received a factual error notification concerning the nomination, actually the evaluation of the nomination Al-Ahsa Oasis, and it's to be found on page 83 of the English version of document in faith before, and on page 21 of the French version of the same document. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Ecomos? Yeah, I give the floor now to Ecomos, please. Ecomos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Al Asa Oasis consists of palm groves and water channels, as well as buildings, urban fabric, and archaeological sites that together are seen to represent the evolution of an ancient cultural tradition in the Gulf region of the Arabian Peninsula from the Neolithic period up to the present day. In terms of categories of cultural property, this is a serial nomination of 12 sites. It is also nominated as a cultural landscape. The map shows the location of the property in the east of the Arabian Peninsula. The oasis of Al Asa lies between the desert and the coast, on a vast plain where groups began to settle in the Neolithic era, attracted by the abundance of water and a favorable natural environment. As the climate became drier, oasis life developed sometime during the 3rd millennium before the Christian era. The defining characteristics of Al Asa Oasis, the cultivation of dates and its complex water irrigation and management systems, appear to have been introduced in the Dilmun period, between the 3rd to the 2nd millennium before the Christian era, based on water management techniques from Mesopotamia. As the area grew enough crops to trade, prosperous towns arose linked to maritime routes around the Gulf and overland trade routes through the Arabian desert. The oasis was extended in the Islamic period, and by the 16th century there were more than 50 villages and 2 towns. Until the 1960s, the enlarged Dilmun structures still persisted. The distinctive water distribution system that circulated water from around a number of springs and wells to the palm groves through herringbone pattern channels and then drained into Al Asfar Lake, an ensemble of villages and agricultural towns that managed the trade, and the oasis had become the largest in the world. Today, the oasis is described in the nomination dossier as having been transformed from changes undertaken to the irrigation system and from urban growth based on the oil industry. In 1967, an irrigation project was launched to address the waning efficiency of water distribution, and a new network of canals was laid. Although the new network has affected the traditional aspect of the property, the modern canals mostly follow the path of historic ones. Until the 1960s, the sharing of water was undertaken in a communal way based on agreement between farmers. Now the Al Hassan Irrigation and Drainage Authority is in charge of this aspect. As a result of these changes, the farming system has moved from community-led to a market-led economy. Villages have almost disappeared, with only parts of one, now unoccupied, having survived. The second transformation was the rapid expansion of the urban areas brought about by the development of the oil industry and the rebuilding of traditional structures in the existing towns. 12 component sites have been nominated, which together are seen to cover all the morphological elements of the oasis cultural landscape. These consist of 3 large palm groves with their irrigation channels, the Al Asfar Lake that collects surplus water from the canals, 2 archaeological sites at Ain Kinas and Jawatha with evidence of Neolithic pottery and later Islamic irrigation systems, part of Al Oyan village, which includes fragments of the unique typology of houses that persisted until the 1970s. Also included are the Jawatha Mosque, said to have been built over the traditional site of the second mosque in Islam and recently reconstructed, and the Al-Bataliya Mosque, also recently restored. The remaining components are 2 forts, a complex of Ottoman period buildings, and the 19th century souk, Al-Khazariya. The property is nominated as an evolving cultural landscape and one that has changed dramatically since the 1960s. But the evolution has not primarily come about with the agricultural community being central players. Although the water channels still for the most part reflect their early alignment, the oasis cannot be said to reflect mainly traditional practices. Whereas in most cultural landscapes, some modern interventions have been introduced to support the persistence of practices, at Al Asa, the interventions have all but replaced such practices. Al-Asa is no longer an overall eco-cultural system in which the technical and social management of water allows palm cultivation to support a social unit in a sustainable way. ICOMOS considers that the oasis system, which spread from Saudi Arabia across the Maghreb, is a settlement typology that is underrepresented on the World Heritage List. But at Al-Asa, the components do not combine to reflect the traditional structures of an oasis landscape in which the attributes that convey its value have persisted over time. ICOMOS does not consider that the criteria 3, 4, and 5 can be justified. The oasis no longer primarily reflects cultural traditions, as interventions have interrupted the long-standing relationship between people and the natural landscape, and it can no longer be seen as an exceptional testimony to a cultural tradition or as an outstanding example of traditional human settlement. The property also does not reflect in an outstanding way the periods of history that have shaped its development. In terms of integrity, development has engulfed parts of the oasis and changed its setting dramatically. Traditional villages have been replaced by modern urbanization to a degree that impacts on integrity. Authenticity is, in our view, not demonstrated overall for the series in terms of its ability to reflect the long-standing traditions of the oasis and its social structures. ICOMOS notes that Al-Asa has been nominated as an evolving landscape rather than an evolved one, which, as defined in the operational guidelines, clearly reflects the way it has evolved over time and needs to be sustained in the future. The idea of an evolving landscape appears to mean that the limits of permissible change are not clearly defined, nor precisely what cannot change, and this implies that its value could also evolve over time. In conclusion, ICOMOS also has concerns in terms of the boundaries protection, conservation and management, where further work we consider is needed. In conclusion, ICOMOS recommends that the Al-Asa Oasis, as nominated as an evolving cultural landscape, should not be inscribed on the World Heritage List. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or inquiries? Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This afternoon, I want to talk about a very special case. I want to talk about a piece of land that gave life to endless generation, a piece of hope, a piece of history, a true piece of life, Al-Asa Oasis. We are talking about the largest and most famous oasis in the world. Please, allow me to make 3 points today. Yes, the advisory board gave their negative decisions, but this committee gathered today makes the final decision. And there is precedent already allowing an alternate decision. We respect the procedure and we do not want to change the dignity of the procedure. But exceptions are made, and from exceptions comes progress and change. Many countries do not understand the vital importance of oases simply because they never historically faced harsh climates or do not have such large desert area to cross. Thus, the advisory board may not have taken these things in consideration, simply because it's not part of their historical struggle and survival. This is a unique case, and we need to give it a unique second look. Number 2, under this oasis lies the world's largest supply of oil, one that daily produces more than Norway, Azerbaijan, and Indonesia combined. Yet, for 50 years ago, there was royal decree banning any oil infrastructure within 120 kilometers of its premises. Why? Because over 1,000 years, this oasis gave water, shelter, and life to endless caravans, traders, and people who passed through. It saved too many cultures and generations to not be recognized. The government not only spent money, but so much selfless effort and time to maintain the oasis' dignity. Not only did this oasis provide life, today it's the home of the antiquities that are over 2,000 years old, a true home to religions and cultures way before Islam. There is true love and passion for this oasis. Just take a moment and look at the numerous researches done by Western and American historians, such as Vidal, who lived there for several months in the 50s. Or go back to 63 BC, to the Greek Strabo, who wrote about its importance as cultivated and agriculturally rich region. Yes, there is record from over 2,000 years ago. So in conclusion, I would like to make a plea. It is part an emotional plea, as I think of 1,000 years of beautiful palm trees and archaeological sites. It is part of an empirical plea, as I think of the deep and complicated role of this oasis had on the survival of so many cultures and people and the shaping of this peninsula. It is part of urgent plea that is our chance to show the world that although this may not be the typical cultural landscape that they are familiar with, it is definitely worth having an OUV, because without a doubt, it has outstanding universal value. Outstanding its own survival through the worst climate possible with dust and high temperatures. Universal in giving life to the numerous people and cultures who passed through for over 1,000 years. Value and the antiquities it is still preserved. The State of Kuwait requests the Honor Committee members to support and approve the decision due to the significant site and its readiness. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now the floor is for Bahrain. Burkina Faso.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le Burkina Faso soutient le projet de décision soumis par le Koweït pour l'inscription de l'oasis Al-Assar, un paysage culturel en évolution, pour les raisons suivantes. J'avais un développement à faire concernant le rôle important joué par l'eau dans l'histoire générale des civilisations du monde, mais je crois que mon prédécesseur a suffisamment expliqué cela. Et je vais juste relever que dans le passé, Al-Assar était et reste une source majeure de production agricole, mais aussi de développement d'un savoir-faire particulier ancien, car datant depuis le néolithique et qui s'est perpétué jusqu'à nos jours. Son importance liée essentiellement à la production des dattes n'est plus à démontrer. Et nous connaissons bien le rôle que cet aliment a joué dans la fixation des peuples du Sahara et du Sahel en général en Afrique et partout dans le monde. Alors, avec ces différents secteurs interconnectés, l'oasis d'Al-Assar nous donne encore aujourd'hui à découvrir un complexe traditionnel d'irrigation sans pareil. Et je crois que le fait de dire que c'est un paysage culturel en évolution n'est pas le fait d'un hasard. L'État parti a par ailleurs montré sa disponibilité à promouvoir les 2 sites archéologiques néolithiques et islamiques qui s'y trouvent et à prendre toutes les mesures nécessaires au respect de l'authenticité et de l'intégrité du site. De ce qui précède donc, Madame la Présidente, je voudrais donc une fois de plus réitérer le souhait de mon État parti de soutenir le projet de décision soumis par le Koweït. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Bahrain, please. Bahrain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Al-Ahsa, a synthesis of the knowledge of the first urban civilizations of the 3rd millennium and of the experience of the desert people, is a unique example of union of the sustainability characteristics of communities of oases with the dimensions of hydraulic societies. In the current hydro-agricultural network, it is possible to read the whole creative process, the development and the continuous efforts to transform desert into a living landscape, create the humus and the cooperative to realize the skills necessary to combat desertification and the progress of sand in a continuous evolutionary process. Al-Ahsa is the exceptional example of a vast oasis where archaeological remains, historical structures, crops, hydraulic machines, canals, distribution methods, water recycling, and the landscape of all the stadiums of information for the oasis and its evolutions are still present. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to China.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China supports the draft submitted by Kuwait for the inscription of Al-Hassa Oasis, an evolving cultural landscape for the following reasons. Al-Hassa is located in the geological morphological area characterized by the meeting of different ecosystems. The rocky desert mountain, the sand desert, the coastal depression. These particular environmental and the landscape differences are among the determining factor of the genesis and the development of the oasis as a successful practice in the creation of living conditions in harsh conditions. Al-Hassa is a type of oasis characterized by historical presence of numerous springs around which the original oasis nucleus is created. From the water springs, the water flows into the brackish depression where the waters of the Wadi torrent mix with the coastal marine ones. An interchange is created between the nomadic environment, the farmer, and the fisherman. This condition, typical of Gulf area, has characterized the origin of the first oasis into the ancient civilization of Dilmun, flourishing thanks to the trade between Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley, where Al-Hassa economy contributed with the production of dates. China would like to listen to the Saudi expert to respond to the following question. The property is composed of 12 components with 7 buffer zones. Can the Saudi expert elaborate on how these components are linked? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Uganda.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The delegation of Uganda aligns itself to the statements made by Kuwait, China, Burkina Faso, and Bahrain in support of inscription of Al-Hassa Oasis, an evolving cultural landscape for the following reasons. 1, the palm groves of Al-Hassa are among the largest in the world and the only ones preserved on a vast scale. 2, the historical characteristics of cultivations and hydraulic systems based on traditional techniques remain unaltered, even in the face of continued past and present technological evolution. 3, Al-Hassa shows a pattern of man-made transformation of the desert landscape at a scale unrivaled and unmatched in the world, and carried out according to unique methods developed in harmony with the very specific natural conditions of the area over thousands of years. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, now do you have the floor?
شكرا سيدتي الرئيسة. يسعدني أن أتدخل في هذا الملف، وتونس دولة من الدول التي قدمت مشروع تعديله. نحن نتحدث عن واحة الإحساء، عن أحد المواقع النادرة في العالم، فهي ظاهرة طبيعية وهي ظاهرة إنسانية وحضارية في ذات الوقت. خصوصيتها تتبين وتبين لنا كم هي ضاربة في القدم، وهي مثبتة لخصوصية لا نظير لها في البلدان التي بها واحات، وأنا أفقه ما أقول بلدي يعرف عديد الواحات. امتدادها الجغرافي، فرادة نظام الري بها، تعامل الإنسان معها على مر العصور، جعل من علاقة الزراعة والعيش فيها صناعة حضارة واضحة. وكل هذه العناصر جعلت من تأقلم الإنسان في تلك الظروف تصنع أدوات وقف مشروع التعديل على التقائها ب3 نقاط من معايير، وهي المعايير 3 و4 و5، وهو ما يرفعها مجملا إلى موقع ذو قيمة عالمية وحتى ذو قيمة عالمية استثنائية. فهذا نؤكده خاصة وأن جزء من ردود الهياكل الاستشارية تحدث عن ضرورة حمايات الموقع بما فيها وضع ترسانة قانونية تتأقلم مع ذلك. والمتثبت في ترسانة القوانين والمراسيم في المملكة العربية السعودية يراها مستجيبة من الآن إلى تلك الشروط، وأشير دون الحصر هنا إلى المراسيم الملكية التي تعود إلى سنة 72 2014 2015 وحتى مؤخرا 2016. وأذكر كذلك بأنه بعريضة من المحكمة الملكية العليا وقع اتخاذ قرار في سنة 2009 يمنع تجزئة هذه المقاطع الفلاحية في تلك المناطق. جملة هذه العناصر تجعلني أؤكد دعم تونس لتسجيله، وأطلب من ممثل المملكة أن يقف على توضيح هذه العناصر الثلاث التي كنت عرجت عليها في طال كلامي، وشكرا لكم.
شكرا لكم. And now I give the floor to Cuba.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Como usted conoce, el agua es esencial para la supervivencia en el desierto. La gestión del agua es un reto fundamental en la cultura de la región arábica y uno de sus atributos fundamentales son los sistemas de traslado, recolección y almacenamiento de este preciado líquido. Los sistemas de canales e irrigación y el paisaje que genera son un testimonio y una tipología poco representada en la lista y por tanto un vacío que conspira contra la representatividad de esta lista del patrimonio mundial. La nominación que presenta Arabia Saudita es un aporte a la credibilidad y balance de la lista. Por ello, Cuba apoya el cambio de proyecto de decisión para la inscripción de este bien. Gracias.
Thank you very much. And now, Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nomination property Al-Aqsa Oasis consists of 12 components: gardens, canals, springs, wells, drainage lake, as well as historic building, urban, fabric, and archaeological site. Al-Aqsa is the largest oasis in the world with more than 2.5 million palm trees. Nominated property represents the evaluation of an ancient cultural tradition and the traces of sedentary human occupation of the Gulf region of the Arabian Peninsula from the Neolithic period up to the present. Environmental protection of the property is covered by the law of country. For the strengthening of the management of the site, the new management scheme formed a higher committee and a site management unit based in Al-Aqsa municipality. From our point of view, the comparative analysis justifies consideration of this property for the World Heritage List. The integrity of the nominated site justifies by structural and landscape integrity, integrity of use, development of the human settlements, and the control of the streets. The nominated property keeps the required outstanding universal value by the following criteria: its unique cultural landscape resulting from the interaction of man and nature in a particular geographic and geological position, which up to the present preserves material remains representing all stages of the oasis history. It bears testimony to human occupation for thousands of years up to the present. It includes historic building, religious sites, and agricultural landscape elements. And last one is the largest oasis in the world, containing, as I said, more than 2.5 million palm trees. So we can say that the proposed property meets the criteria 3, 4, and 5, and our sanctity and integrity requirements. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now Spain, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Nosotros querríamos encomiar el trabajo que se ha realizado para la protección de este palmeral y también encomiar el trabajo que ha hecho Arabia Saudí al preparar un dossier muy bien articulado y acorde con las directivas en el que se intenta poner en valor unos bienes como los oasis que están claramente infrarrepresentados en en la lista, y nosotros lo sabemos bien, que tenemos uno de los sitios inscritos, Elche, herencia árabe, en la lista. Y precisamente desde este conocimiento sí que consideramos que hay que seguir trabajando en la candidatura, porque hay elementos que acabamos de hablar en el anterior bien recientemente inscrito, como es la importancia de mejorar la limitación de los bienes, de aclarar las zonas de amortiguamiento, y quizás por eso queremos escuchar también al propio Estado parte. Por eso nos gustaría que nos llegan también esas aclaraciones, puesto que del informe que se nos ha presentado, del propio informe que presentó Arabia Saudí, hay una serie de afirmaciones sobre la autenticidad e integridad del bien, precisamente debido a esa constante evolución de este magnífico palmeral, pero que por ese progreso no ha podido guardar todas y cada una de sus características originales. España quiere seguir animando a Arabia Saudí en este dossier que nos parece relevante, y nos gustaría escuchar cómo ha respondido a todas las preocupaciones que han sido suscitadas previamente por el organismo de evaluación. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. Brazil, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the outset, Brazil would like to thank ICOMOS for the presentation of its advisory report and commend Saudi Arabia for proposing this very interesting and thought-provoking nomination of a property whose typology should be better represented on the World Heritage List. The Brazilian delegation considers that the nomination of Al-Aqsa Oasis has significant importance, since it presents exceptional examples of gardens, canals, springs, lakes, and of the evolved urban fabric in a dramatic and long-dated dialogue with the daring desert. It represents a significant example of human occupation of arid regions challenged by environmental conditions since ancient times. We understand that these features present important elements for the identification of attributes that could potentially convey the outstanding universal value for this property. We believe that the questions presented by ICOMOS could be overcome based on the exceptionality of the component sites in relation to the human appropriation of land tangibly expressed in the whole oasis, or at least substantial part of it, with regard to the management of the scarce water resources in desert landscapes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Guatemala, you have the floor, please.
Muchas gracias, señora Presidente. También deseamos unirnos a las felicitaciones al Estado parte por la nominación y agradecer a ICOMOS por su presentación sobre el análisis de la propuesta. El paisaje del oasis de Al-Aqsa incluye jardines, canales, manantiales, pozos y un sistema de drenaje agrícola, así como edificios históricos. Los 12 componentes incluidos en la propuesta se encuentran rodeados de más de 2.5 millones de palmeras. El Estado parte de Arabia Saudita plantea que los monumentos construidos y los sitios arqueológicos representan la evolución de la tradición cultural antigua, con trazas de ocupación sedentaria de la humanidad en la península desde el periodo neolítico hasta la actualidad, lo que le da un carácter de patrimonio biocultural. Como otros miembros de este comité han indicado previamente, el oasis nos permite valorar una larga tradición de interacción del desarrollo humano y su relación con el contexto natural, especialmente porque también demuestra la capacidad humana de adaptación a las condiciones adversas en un entorno que está cambiando constantemente a lo largo de la historia del planeta. Esto puede evidenciarse en el registro arqueológico. Protegiendo este tipo de sitios, la humanidad puede avanzar en el conocimiento de las estrategias de adaptación ante condiciones de cambio climático, por lo que Guatemala también se une al apoyo para los cambios propuestos en la enmienda. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Al-Aqsa Oasis, an evolving cultural landscape, has been nominated under the criteria 3, 4, and 5 of the Outstanding Universal Values. As a property that covers a vast landscape with many features such as gardens, canals, springs, wells, an agricultural drainage lake, and historical buildings. The vastness of this property makes it taxing for the state party to meet the expected criteria for justification. Taking into account the criteria justified by the state party, we see that based on its historical values, the property can still be considered to meet the essence of the criteria. We therefore encourage the state party to consider implementing a monitoring regime at the property and establishing a clear management plan for the property, and to maintain dialogues with the advisory bodies following inscription. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I give ECOMOS the floor to reply. Or Australia. Excuse me. Australia, you have the floor.
Sorry, I raised the flag in your blind spot, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity. Oases have been an integral part of the history of this region where we're meeting for thousands of years, and a remarkable demonstration of the interaction between people and their environment. We consider that the inscription of an oasis such as this on the World Heritage List would make a very positive contribution to meeting the aims of the global strategy for a representative, balanced and credible World Heritage List. Australia has carefully reviewed the nomination dossier and evaluation and the additional information by way of correction of factual errors, and our overarching assessment is that the Al Asa Oasis nomination, in it we do see the kernel of outstanding universal value. What we also see is that the nomination would be strengthened if the state party was able to give clearer expression to the contribution made to outstanding universal value by the irrigation and water systems of the oasis from the period prior to the 1960s. And this goes in particular to clarifying the attributes that demonstrate the authenticity and integrity of the evolved landscape. Logically, to Australia, this would best be achieved by deferring the nomination and allowing the state party to seek the advice of ICOMOS in reshaping it. However, as we have listened to the interventions of distinguished colleagues on this nomination, it seems there is a groundswell towards inscription of this property on the World Heritage List. In the spirit of consensus building that has been the hallmark of this meeting, Australia will not stand in the way of inscription of the Al Asa Oasis on the World Heritage List. We do hope, however, that in finalising its statement of outstanding universality value for future endorsement by the committee, the state party is able to address the matters raised in the evaluation related to integrity and authenticity of the site.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to ICOMOS.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Honourable Delegate of Azerbaijan, of Tunisia, asked to hear from the experts on the criteria, and I assume he meant ICOMOS. Before commenting on the criteria, may I just say one thing, that in reaching its conclusion for not to be inscribed on the World Heritage List, the ICOMOS panel was not saying that Al Asa Oasis had no value, but rather it could not justify the outstanding universal value on the basis of the nomination of an evolving cultural landscape as presented by the state party. I would just like to make that clarification. So it was in that context that we analysed the justifications for the criteria in terms of whether, as an evolving cultural landscape, these criteria were met. In our view, we could not support the idea that the property as it stands could be seen as an exceptional testimony to a cultural tradition, or indeed as an exceptional example of a traditional human settlement. We didn't think that either of these things were quite appropriate in terms of what has been nominated. What we are therefore saying is that it is the format and scope and way the nomination has been presented that at this stage does not meet the criteria or, in our view, justify outstanding universal value. That would not preclude in the future some other formulation being considered, but the ICOMOS panel could not see a way forward at the immediate time. I hope that gives some clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Tunisia. Maybe you have more inquiries.
شكرا سيدتي الرئيسة، وأشكر إيكوموس على تقديم هذه الإيضاحات، وإن كنت في كلمتي طلبت السماع إلى الدولة العضو ورأي خبرائها في الموضوع، ولكن نشكرها على تقديم هذه الإيضاحات التكميلية.
We have it here. Yeah. And now I give the state party, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the floor for the clarification. Thank you very much.
شكرا سيد الرئيسة. وأود في الواقع أولا أن أبدأ حديثي والرد على الاستفسارات والأسئلة التي طرحت بالقول أن واحة الإحساء هي المثال الناجح والكبير على مستوى العالم لكيف استطاع الإنسان أن يتكيف مع آخر تغير مناخي كبير حدث في الأرض، حيث كانت الجزيرة العربية قبل 7000 سنة أرض خضراء ومناخ رطب، وبالتغير المناخي تحولت إلى صحراء، وتمكن الإنسان، وهذه الواحة هي أهم شاهد في العالم الآن، من التكيف مع هذا التغير المناخي، وأوجد بيئة مناسبة للعيش والإنتاج. والواحة هذه هي مهد الحضارات في الجزيرة العربية، بحيث أن كل الحضارات التي نشأت في وادي الرافدين وفي بلاد الشام وحتى في الساحل الفينيقي انطلقت من هذا المكان، والفينيقيين أنفسهم في نقوشهم يذكرون أنهم من شرق الجزيرة العربية. القيمة الاستثنائية واضحة. أما قضية، وطبعا هذه القيمة أبرزت في الملف الذي قدم من خلال 12 موقع تسلسلي يظهر المواقع الأثرية التي توضح لنا بداية الواحة في عصر ما قبل التاريخ، وهذه المواقع الأثرية أجريت فيها أعمال تنقيب ونشرت عنها الكثير من الكتب ابتداء من الستينات. أيضا الواحة وعلاقتها بقضية البترول. الواحة موجودة قبل البترول، وهناك دراسة كبيرة لأنثروبولوج أمريكي من الخمسينات تظهر حجم الواحة وكبرها وعظمها وأثرها الاقتصادي الكبير. المملكة العربية السعودية اتخذت قرار استراتيجي منذ 1932 بنقل كل صناعة البترول بعيدا عن الواحة للمحافظة عليها، وبحيث أنه إذا ذهب الإنسان الآن إلى الحسا لا يجد أي مظهر من مظاهر صناعة البترول التي يوجد فيها أكبر حقل بترول في العالم. شكرا سيدي الرئيس.
شكرا لكم. And now I give the floor to Angola.
Merci Madame la Présidente pour la parole. Après avoir entendu plusieurs États partis sur leurs analyses et surtout après avoir pris note des éclaircissements apportés par l'ICOMOS, nous avons également eu cette impression que les éléments, les attributs pour justifier la VUE sont bien présents. C'est bien aussi important, l'Oasis, et beaucoup l'ont souligné, l'importance de l'eau pour la vie, pour les communautés qui vivent dans cette région. Donc nous avions eu également cette impression qu'il y avait plutôt un problème au niveau de mettre en lien ces attributs par rapport justement aux normes de rédaction et de la présentation du document. Donc, avec toutes ces précisions apportées par l'ICOMOS, l'Angola va s'allier donc aux autres membres du comité qui appuient évidemment l'inscription de ces biens, et nous encourageons l'État parti de pouvoir renforcer justement quelques mesures concernant la protection et concernant également la conservation, pour que ces biens puissent donc rester sur la liste du patrimoine mondial et que les populations qui y vivent puissent en bénéficier énormément. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comments before we refer to our reporter? No? So you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As it has been noted during the discussion, I have received amendments to the draft decision proposed by Kuwait, China, Tunisia, St. Kitts and Nevis, Cuba, Bahrain, Burkina Faso, and Uganda, and we have heard general support from the floor for these amendments. The original draft decision proposed that this property should not be inscribed on the World Heritage List, and the amendments proposed that this site should instead be inscribed on the World Heritage List. Subsequently, the draft that you see on the screens right now has a provisional statement of outstanding universal value that includes the identification of criteria under which the property should be inscribed. It has assessment of the conditions of integrity and authenticity. And we also have a statement on the protection requirements and the management requirements. Madam Chair, at this point, if I may, I would like to make a small editorial suggestion to the authors of the text, just for the sake of having a clear and coherent standardized text. If we could just scroll up a little bit to that, yes, thank you, too much. Yes. In the paragraphs below management and protection requirements, we see different ways of expressing dates. So I would like to suggest, with your permission, if we could use all the way through the text the standard format of dates, which would be the days followed by the month and followed by the year, this just to have a coherent and precise text. Other than that, Madam Chair, I will not read out the amendments, but everybody has it in front of them and on the screen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or a clarification, Saudi Arabia or the other member, the committee? You have something? No. Nothing? Excuse me? You have? Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to remind that if the committee is going in this direction, we have to take note of the following procedural statement of you. Sorry, in the version that we had here, it was not mentioned, but I see that has been inserted in the version on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If there is no objection, we can go ahead and adopt the decision. Yeah, as amended. Okay. So I therefore declare draft decision 42, 8B, 16 adopted as amended. Thank you very much. I hope that you can register it next meeting or next year. And now, now we go to the decision related to China. I think China. I now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination of the historic monuments and sites of ancient Kunzhenhu, Zentun, China. And I give the floor to Mr. Balsamo to give you his thoughts.
You don't give the floor to the...
And now, excuse me, I give the floor to Saudi Arabia. If they want to say anything after we adopt the decision related Al-Ahsa.
Yes,
Please, you have the floor.
شكرا السيدة الرئيسة. السيد الرئيس، إن وفد المملكة العربية السعودية يقدم جزيل الشكر والامتنان لكم ولكافة الدول الأعضاء في لجنة التراث العمراني العالمي على تسجيل موقع واحة الأحساء كأحد المواقع الثقافية المتطورة على قائمة التراث العالمي. ونؤكد على حرص حكومة المملكة العربية السعودية على صون وحماية التراث. ونود أن نقدم خالص الشكر والامتنان لمملكة البحرين الشقيقة على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة وحسن التنظيم، والشكر موصول لكم سيد الرئيس على الإدارة المتميزة لكافة أعمال الدورة 42. شكرا لكم وشكرا لجميع الدول الأعضاء التي صوتت لصالح المملكة العربية السعودية. شكرا لكم جميعا.
شكرا لكم ونبارك لكم بهذا القرار. الآن ننتقل إلى موقع زيتون China, and I give the floor now to Balsamo to give us his report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to remind the committee that we received a factual error notification concerning the nomination of the historic monuments and sites of Hanser and Quanchu, Saitan, and this is to be found on page 31 of the English version of document INF 8B4 and on page 35 of the French version of the same document. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to ICOMOS.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon. This is the presentation of the ICOMOS evaluation of historic monuments and sites of ancient Changzhou, or Zaiton, in China. Changzhou, known as Zaiton in Arabic and Western texts, was a prominent node in the maritime trading routes in the 10th to 14th centuries during the Song and Yuan dynasties of China. These formed part of the maritime silk routes, a counterpart to the land-based routes that are already reflected in inscriptions in the World Heritage List. This serial property consists of 16 components, including the remains of historical dock structures, bridge, pagodas, archaeological sites, inscriptions, and statues, temples, and shrines of diverse faiths. The 16 components are divided thematically into 3 groups. There are 8 components associated with the sites of maritime navigation and trade, including 2 pagodas. The remains of docks in the port and estuary and a porcelain kiln site are included, as are the temple for the worship of a Taoist deity and god of the sea, the Tianhu temple for the worship of a sea goddess, and a series of wind-praying rock carvings. The second category is multicultural sites and includes the Confucius Temple, a stone statue of the founder of Taoism, the Kaiyuan Temple with both Buddhist and Hindu elements, and a temple and statue of Mani, the world's only remaining stone statue of the founder of Manichaeism. Changzhou's mosque and a pair of Islamic tombs are also included. The final category consists of 2 sites of urban infrastructure, the archaeological site of the Deji Gate and the stone Luoyang Bridge. Maritime silk routes is a relatively recent term that describes a number of historical periods and regional encounters. These were not single continuous avenues, but represent multiple smaller movements that together connected vast territories. Transnational research on the possible World Heritage thematic framing of maritime silk routes has just started, and the State Party does not consider that this nomination needs to wait for the work to progress. Discussions with the State Party have focused on how this nomination has been conceptualized. The State Party's approach has been to nominate a group of monuments and sites that are linked in their ability to express a specific historical period. However, ICOMOS does not consider that the potential outstanding universal value is clear if linked only to its historical period. The State Party has also clarified that it has not nominated Changzhou as a cultural route or as a port city. However, the historical background rests on the existence of maritime routes, and the comparative analysis compares Changzhou with other port cities. The State Party submitted additional information in February 2018, which offered a revised justification of outstanding universal value focused on social and cultural traditions that are demonstrative of interchanges through trade and as an outstanding tradition of stone architecture and stonework craftsmanship. These were not accompanied by sufficient comparative study and evidence, but these new ideas, received at a late point in the process, underscores the view of ICOMOS that this proposal is still a work in progress, with much new and interesting work yet to be undertaken. ICOMOS considers that the comparative analysis does not justify the specific serial approach or the selection of the components. The authenticity of the individual components in relation to the historical period proposed is variable, and the integrity of the series is not justified due to the unresolved questions concerning the selection of the components. ICOMOS does not consider that any of the proposed criteria 2, 3, and 6 are demonstrated. The approach taken to nominating 16 sites in 3 different categories has also made it difficult to effectively apply 3 criteria across the entirety of the property. ICOMOS considers that the boundaries are mostly adequate, although the buffer zone protection could be simplified. The threats vary due to the diversity of the components and their urban, suburban, and scenic area settings. In general, the most significant pressures are those associated with urban and port development. The legal protection is adequate and the management system is appropriate, although the coordination could be further streamlined. ICOMOS considers that without further work on the thematic framework for the maritime silk routes, it is difficult to establish the outstanding universal value of the monuments and sites of Changzhou. Despite many sincere exchanges with the State Party, the specific orientation of this nomination remains unclear. A number of arguments have been presented, but each of these requires specific types of evidence, comparative analysis, and more work and cooperation. ICOMOS therefore finds with regret that the nominated serial property does not demonstrate outstanding universal value and recommends that the historic monuments and sites of ancient Changzhou, Zaiton, China, should not be inscribed on the World Heritage List. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I see. What's the Tunisia asking for the. You have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie tient tout d'abord, après l'étude de ce dossier, remercier ICOMOS d'avoir présenté un rapport concernant la nomination des monuments et sites historiques de l'ancien Quanzhou, Zaytoun, pour lequel ICOMOS néanmoins a émis un avis de non-inscription. En réalité, la Tunisie considère, au vu des éléments qui composent ce dossier, que les critères 2 et 3 et 6 peuvent être regardés comme existants et pleinement existants. La place importante du port de Zaytoun en relation avec les routes maritimes de la soie a permis le développement d'une civilisation urbaine particulière entre le XIe et le XIVe siècle, dont sont témoins les vestiges qui composent le bien en série et qui sont dans un état de conservation remarquable. Il serait, à nos yeux, déjà à lui seul justifiant le critère 3. Les composants proposés pour inscription montrent par ailleurs la coexistence et l'interaction entre plusieurs cultures et religions, taoïsme, bouddhisme, confucianisme, hindouisme, islam, manichéisme et croyances locales. Ainsi, les critères 2 et 6 sont entièrement justifiés. Il est par ailleurs un grand nombre de monastères, de pagodes en pierre témoignent de l'influence combinée du bouddhisme, du confucianisme et de l'hindouisme et les divinités, et ainsi que les divinités locales, chose assez rare par ailleurs. Où peut-on trouver un temple encore en activité qui abrite la seule sculpture connue de Mani, représentée assis sur des lotus et qui est toujours l'objet de dévotion par les populations locales? Où peut-on encore trouver une sculpture monumentale de Lao Tseu dans un paysage impressionnant de collines, de forêts entièrement préservées? Nous regrettons que l'importance de ces éléments n'ait pas été relevée et que cela a été plutôt relégué à une étude technique qui devrait être faite, une étude thématique sur les routes maritimes de la soie. En réalité, cette entreprise, c'est-à-dire cette étude, a été menée dans le cadre initié par l'UNESCO et intitulé « Étude intégrale des routes de la soie, route du dialogue » entre 1988 et 1997, où plus de 90 experts de 25 pays avaient été impliqués. L'importance exceptionnelle de l'ancien Kwanzhou avait déjà été soulignée dans cette étude. Nous avons par ailleurs noté que cette étude à laquelle on avait fait référence n'avait pas trouvé écho dans les éléments qui ont permis la position annoncée en premier. De concert avec d'autres États membres de ce comité, nous proposons de ne pas aller vers la direction de la non-inscription, mais plutôt de se contenter d'un renvoi et qui serait ainsi accepté afin de permettre à l'État partie concerné de poursuivre ses soutiens et contributions au suivi de l'étude thématique subventionnée et au développement d'un dialogue transnational à ces sujets en collaboration avec le Centre du patrimoine mondial et l'organe consultatif pertinent. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. Now, Kuwait, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The importance of sites of the World Heritage in the broader sense is to provide the sphere in which future populations can imagine and conceive new encounters with the other, and remind us of the times when such encounters produced that what was then a new reality, new ways of being, knowledge and novelty. During times of conflict and an unprecedented era of culture cleansing and wars that falsely claim a religious agenda, we believe that it is our duty as the custodians of the heritage of humanity to remind ourselves and highlight evidences of coexistence, cross-cultural dialogue, and harmony amongst different belief systems. Sites that demonstrate peace, harmony, and integrated multicultural societies should be encouraged, and the tangible manifestation of such values should be our priority. As an assembly of multi-civilization masterpieces featuring unique and exceptional physical forms and cultural richness, the historic monuments and sites of the ancient Kwanzhou Zaytun demonstrates exceptional outcome of exchange of values amongst human cultures. The components of the property exhibit a fusion of diverse cultures in architecture, landscape, decorative art, as well as in aspects of spirituality and customs. The serial components of the site are also recognized by the integral study of the Silk Road, Roads of Dialogue, a 10-year UNESCO scientific research project with the participation of more than 100 experts from across the world, conducted from 1988 until 1997. And we suggest the need to refer to such important studies during the process evaluating nomination dossiers. Kuwait delegation supports the amendment to the draft decision to refer it back to the state party for further work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having looked at the documents related to this property of the ancient Kwanzhou, as well as having listened to the advisory body's description, Zimbabwe does not agree with the draft decision as it stands, but further recommends that this property be referred to allow for further work and clarification. The property clearly illustrates the bringing together of all the religions which are preserved at this site. The linkages between the different aspects and the different sites is clearly shown and is actually evident at the site. The advisory bodies had some concerns with the authenticity and integrity of the property, However, the main basis for not inscribing the property was the global thematic studies on the maritime silk routes, which have not yet been carried out. We do not think that it is fair to not take action on the basis of studies that have not been carried out. The delegation of Zimbabwe is of the opinion that this nomination was submitted in terms of the global strategy for a representative and balanced and credible World Heritage List, paragraph 55 to 58 of the operational guidelines, which seeks to identify and fill gaps in the World Heritage site, and we believe that this property does fulfill this missing link, where you find a place where all the religions are there, but also the trade routes to the different parts of the world are preserved and clearly illustrated. Zimbabwe is therefore a co-sponsor of the draft decision to refer this nomination to allow the state party to work with ICOMOS in clarifying the gray areas and to resubmit this site to the next meeting of the committee. We also urge that whatever thematic studies are required should be carried out as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The delegation of Azerbaijan also supports the amendment proposed by the delegation of Tunisia to refer this nomination back to the state party. We carefully examined the ICOMOS report and the response from the state party to the ICOMOS evaluation. Pertaining to the combination of philosophy of the 16 components of this nomination mentioned by ICOMOS, the delegation of Azerbaijan thinks that this combination philosophy is very well justified. The nomination is composed of docks, bridges, storm carvings, temples, mosques, and many other monuments. They are combined to form the serial property as set of the monument sites that feature diverse physical forms and significance and exhibit the historical functions, attributes, features, and roles of the ancient Guangzhou. These interrelated components demonstrate cultural representativeness, mutual attraction, complementarity within the context of the interchange of diverse cultures, infrastructure necessary for such interchange, and significant achievements and contribution that occurred over a long period of 4 centuries. These components support the logical serial combination with their respective forms, features, roles, and significance. They are therefore indispensable and irreplaceable. As this integral evidence to testify to an interchange of diverse civilizations and cultures, the serial nomination bears interrelated functional elements and causal relationship necessary for exchange among civilizations, and thus presents a unique cultural phenomenon and combination of philosophy, and also contributes to the spirit of this convention and the UNESCO values in general. It is an integral whole that typically reflects the social, cultural, and functional links as required for a serial property in Article 137 of the operational guidelines. Therefore, Azerbaijan is in view that this nomination should be referred back to the state party, and we encourage the state party to work with the advisory bodies to present those, to address those recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Uganda, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, the delegation of Uganda has comprehensively examined the nomination dossier and the evaluation of ICOMOS, and finds that this serial property demonstrates exceptional propensity for outstanding universal value. Each of the 16 components of the property are by themselves extraordinary in their individualism, in their own individualism, Monasteries and stone pagodas which testify the combined influence of Buddhism, Hinduism and local beliefs, including the only known sculpture of Mani in the world still worshipped by the local people, as well as the Islamic tombs, which possess two renowned followers of Prophet Muhammad, all of which demonstrate the peaceful coexistence and the prosperous interaction between different cultures and religions back in the 10th, 14th century, when Chenzhou played a pivotal role in the maritime trading networks. My delegation notices that there seems to be some misunderstanding between ICOMOS and the State Party. The evaluation of ICOMOS is more concerned about the thematic study on maritime Silk Roads, while the State Party considers the maritime Silk Roads as the context for the nominated serial property, which demonstrates the interchange and fusion of diverse cultures and civilizations resulting from maritime trade. As pointed out several times by many committee members from the beginning of this session, we need to strengthen the dialogue between the state parties and the advisory boards. My delegation therefore agrees with the delegations of Tunisia, Kuwait, Zimbabwe, and Azerbaijan to refer the nomination back to the state party so that additional information could be provided to ICOMOS to clarify the misunderstanding. Madam Chair, I conclude with a humble request that you accord the State Party of China the opportunity to provide its response to the concerns of ICOMOS. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Cuba, now you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. La nominación de este sitio, que viene siendo técnicamente una nominación en serie compuesta por 16 elementos, sin duda es una propuesta muy interesante y a la vez compleja, que el órgano consultivo en su propia evaluación reconoce el riguroso análisis comparativo desarrollado por el Estado parte, tanto entre los puertos de la propia República Popular China como de la lista indicativa de los Estados parte de la Convención. Creo que ese análisis da enormes potencialidades en cuanto a la evaluación y teniendo en cuenta las capacidades del Estado parte para fundamentar el valor universal excepcional de este sitio, apoyamos también que la nominación sea devuelta al Estado parte. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Now, Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Brazil endorses the amendment to the draft decision 42 COM 8B18. Brazil also thanks ICOMOS and the Secretariat for the summary reports on the nomination of historic monuments and sites in ancient Chenzhou. The nomination by the State Party of China contains a large number of historic buildings with different typologies linked to the time of the high prosperity in Chenzhou's history and bearing witness to the intense inter-exchange of cultures, knowledge, technologies, and trade. The serial property represents the most significant characteristics of Chenzhou's prominence in cultural and goods exchange from the 10th to the 14th century, including evidence of Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism, Islam, Manichaeism, Nestorianism, Hinduism, and local belief systems. The nomination proposed has a high potential outstanding universal value, as, if I'm not mistaken, recognized by ICOMOS. Though ICOMOS report anticipate as a methodology the thematic studies on maritime Silk Roads and takes note of the insufficiency in this respect, it is positive on the high potential of nomination as well as its boundaries and buffer zones and the state of conservation. Brazil, therefore, thinks the nomination is a good embodiment of UNESCO's value of cultural diversity and intercultural dialogue. In a spirit of encouragement and conservation, Brazil supports the Tunisian amendment of the decision to refer of the nomination to the state party for further dialogue with the advisory bodies in order to demonstrate its OUV. If you allow me, Madam, as a general comment, I would like to take this opportunity to highlight the need for an in-depth analysis of the procedures and conceptual framework of serial nominations. We understand that a broader discussion should be fostered in order to produce some new technical inputs for both the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies, as well as to the state party, in the context of the preparation and presentation of nominations and in the subsequent management of the enlisted sites with a view to adequately assuring OUV. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you very much. Now, Angola, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente, pour la parole. Après avoir examiné avec attention les rapports présentés par l'ICOMOS sur la proposition d'inscription de l'ancien Kwanzu, nous pouvons dire que nous sommes devant un bien d'une grande importance historique en illustrant bien le réseau des routes commerciales maritimes qui a facilité les échanges entre l'Europe et l'Asie entre le Xe et le XIVe siècle. Bien que certains ajustements et approfondissements méritent d'être apportés dans la proposition d'inscription présentée par l'État partie relativement à l'analyse comparative, nous avons constaté que les attributs potentiels justifiant la VUE du bien sont présents, notamment en ce qui concerne les critères 3 et 6, qui démontrent le caractère multiculturel de cette période de l'histoire de Kwanzu. Ces valeurs sont mises en évidence par la richesse et la diversité de tous les chefs-d'œuvre de l'architecture en pierre, de l'artisanat de l'ancien Kwanzu et par les pratiques traditionnelles exceptionnelles à travers les modes de production et de vie locaux liés aux exploitations maritimes, le respect mutuel, l'intégration et la cohésion sociale qui concourent à la culture de la paix dans cette région. Madame la Présidente, au regard de ce que nous venons d'exposer, nous appuyons pleinement les projets de décision amendés par la Tunisie et recommandons que la proposition d'inscription présentée par l'État partie soit renvoyée pour donner l'opportunité à l'État partie concerné de poursuivre ses efforts dans l'amélioration de la qualité de son dossier en retravaillant les aspects liés à l'intégrité et à la gestion, en développant son dialogue transnational recommandé en collaboration avec les Centres du patrimoine mondial, l'ICOMOS et d'autres parties intéressées. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. And now the floor is for Bosnia.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. La Bosnie-Herzégovine considère que le bien proposé justifie les critères 2, 3 et 6. La place importante du port de Zeytin en relation avec les routes maritimes de la soie a permis le développement d'une civilisation urbaine particulière entre le XIe et XIVe siècle, dont sont les témoins les vestiges qui composent le bien en série et qui sont dans un état de conservation remarquable. Nous pensons que cela serait suffisant pour justifier le critère 3. Les composants proposés pour l'inscription montrent par ailleurs la coexistence et l'interaction entre plusieurs cultures et religions. Les critères 2 et 6 sont ainsi, à notre avis, justifiés. Nous ne pouvons pas partager l'avis de l'ICOMOS qu'avec cette candidature, il faut attendre une étude thématique sur les routes maritimes de la soie. Comme nos collègues du Koweït, nous voudrions rappeler qu'une étude a été déjà faite dans le cadre du projet de l'UNESCO, étude intégrale des routes de la soie, route de dialogue 1998-1997, sur laquelle ont travaillé 90 experts de 25 pays. Et cette étude, comme nous le savons, a déjà reconnu l'importance exceptionnelle de l'ancienne Chanzo. Par conséquent, la Bosnie-Herzégovine soutient l'amendement présenté en proposant l'adoption d'une décision concernant RIFE. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The State Party has nominated the property as an independent city that serves as a heritage of Song and Qing dynasty. Taking into account the evaluation that has been done by the advisory body, of which we would like to commend, Indonesia is of the view that the site deserves to be included in the World Heritage List, and along with this inclusion, we would recommend the nomination to be referred back to the State Party. We encourage the State Party to come up with a clear plan to refine the justification for the OUV, more precise definition of the boundaries and buffer zones, strengthen the coordination of management between the components of the serial property, and consider a stronger engagement of maritime and port organizations within the management system. We also encourage the State Party to maintain close work with the advisory bodies and explore possibilities of further conserving the OUV of the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania wishes to thank the State Party of China for bringing up this wonderful nomination that tries to demonstrate a prominent node in the maritime trading routes in the 10th to the 14th centuries. Tanzania also commends the advisory body for the in-depth analysis of this nomination, which has resulted in a number of recommendations to be considered by this committee. Chair, this serial property consists of 16 components that are proposed for nomination to represent the geocultural influence and the intercultural exchanges between China, Southeast, and East Africa. Chair, the advisory body, ICOMOS, in its analysis, considers that Criteria 2 is relevant to the important history of cultural interchange that occurred during the transcontinental maritime trading in the 10th and 14th centuries. However, they are saying not all the components are relevant to this nomination. The present justification by the State Party on Criteria 3 is not well integrated into the argument for the outstanding universal value, and that too little information is presented to sustain this as a possible justification for the criteria. The multicultural character of this period of Chanju history is potentially demonstrated by the nominated components that are associated with various religions. While this is a notable aspect of the history and the development of Chanju, there is insufficient comparative evidence to establish that this is an understanding within its geocultural context. Excellent Chair, Tanzania delegation, having gone through the analysis of the ICOMOS, notes that Criteria 2 could be used to dominate the nomination dossier and the Criteria 3. However, there is some work to be done before we can conclude this nomination. We therefore, Tanzania delegation, wish to conclude by saying, by allowing the State Party in collaboration with the advisory bodies, be given adequate time to further work on the interesting nomination dossier by referring the nomination back to the State Party. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now the floor is for Australia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Australia also appreciates the very large amount of work that's gone into this nomination, and we do consider that this work illustrates the great significance of the city as a node of international maritime trade, as a node in the networks of international trade from the 10th to the 14th centuries. We also agree that the 16 components of the nominated site are remarkable in illustrating the architectural and sculptural forms of the period and the cultural and religious diversity of the city. We'd like to thank ICOMOS for the thorough appraisal of the nomination dossier, and particularly in taking the thematic approach that they have to identifying potential OUV. We do consider, on the basis of the information we've been presented, that there is a potential for this property to demonstrate OUV against Criterion 2 and Criterion 3. However, further clarification of the potential OUV and its attributes is needed, and for this reason, Australia considers that a decision to defer the nomination is logical to allow the state party to work with ICOMOS to further define the potential OUV of the site. However, on hearing the comments of our distinguished colleagues in the room, we see that there is a move for referral of this dossier, and Australia can support the amendments as presented.
Thank you very much. Hungary, you have the floor.
Thank you, dear Chairperson. Regarding this nomination, the ancient Kansu was the center of maritime Silk Road connections between China and the Western world in the 11th, 14th century ED. The significance of the site, therefore, does not raise any question or doubt. The nomination dossier elaborated and submitted reflects this fact. It is also to be emphasized that Kansu was in this period a very important meeting place used for religious practices and different cultures, as proven by the great number of shrines, sanctuaries, and temples of Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, and other gods. However, the nomination had some deficiencies regarding the successful definitions of OUV, as well as the full description and evaluation of the connections between the property and the Silk Road program, with special attention on the thematic study. Despite these deficiencies, according to the Hungarian delegation, the OUV could be proven by the state party, therefore recommends that the decision should not be non-inscription, but deferral or referral, and the committee should provide the state party the possibility to work further on the nomination. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, Kyrgyzstan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Delegation of Kyrgyzstan carefully studied all the documents provided with the nomination, and also studied information exchange between the state party and ICOMOS. In order to save time, I will not repeat what has been already said by distinguished delegates of other countries at the committee session. We would like just to mention that selection of components meets criteria 2, 3, and 6. And also, we should note that selected components retain a high degree of authenticity and integrity. All repairs over the sweep of history are clearly evidenced by historical documents, inscriptions, and archives. A set of monuments and sites under the highest level protection by the state party. The serial nomination is protected and managed in accordance with international professional rules and procedures. All repair practices comply with the spirit and the requirements expressed in the operational guidelines for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. Therefore, our delegation supports the amendment proposed by other countries.
Thank you very much. Guatemala, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora Presidente. Felicitamos al Estado parte por la nominación presentada y agradecemos al ICOMOS por el análisis que ha realizado sobre la misma y la recomendación para continuar trabajando en el estudio temático de las rutas marinas de la seda, que sin duda en el futuro ampliará nuestro entendimiento sobre dinámicas socioculturales en una amplia región del mundo. No tenemos dudas sobre la riqueza cultural, artística, espiritual e histórica de los monumentos de Quang Tzu, en un contexto histórico de convivencias de diferentes culturas, sistemas de creencias y medios de expresión artístico-ceremonial. Parece que estamos frente a una metrópoli multicultural del pasado, donde se puede identificar la megadiversidad cultural de un amplio espacio global reunida en un solo lugar. No está de más recordar que actualmente UNESCO impulsa en los escenarios de la diversidad cultural como un mecanismo útil para promover el diálogo para la paz. Por lo anterior, hemos copatrocinado la enmienda presentada, instando al Estado parte a continuar trabajando de manera coordinada con los órganos asesores y las autoridades locales que se vinculan con la gestión del sitio nominado para la implementación de las recomendaciones que fortalezcan la nominación, continuando el valioso diálogo que ICOMOS ha expresado que han tenido con el Estado parte. Muchas gracias, señora Presidenta.
Thank you very much. Now, Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Norway would like to take this opportunity to commend the State Party for excellent management of the World Heritage in China. In this regard, with good Chinese tradition, we are convinced that the State Party will continue to keep doing so in the future. We also commend the State Party for its highly valuable contributions to capacity building and other ways of promoting protection and good management of World Heritage in the Asia-Pacific region and worldwide. Even though the State Party has recently provided important additional information to the committee on the nomination in question, ICOMOS still has several remarks. Based on the information thus far, it is Norway's view, like Australia and Hungary, that a more comprehensive description of this nomination could still be further developed. Norway, therefore, supports the amendment for referral and encourage the State Party to continue the constructive dialogue with the advisory body. Norway welcomes and encourages the thematic study on maritime silk routes commenced a year ago, and the potential for serial World Heritage nominations within such a frame. Hopefully, the State Party will continue its significant support and contribution to this important study in collaboration with the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, Spain, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Simplemente apoyar las intervenciones de otras delegaciones en cuanto a que España también apoya la enmienda presentada de devolver al Estado parte para que tenga oportunidad de profundizar y de justificar con mayor consistencia tanto la autenticidad como el valor universal excepcional. Dada la complejidad de los bienes seriados, entendemos que la ayuda de los órganos consultivos también será necesaria y bueno, invitamos a que colaboren conjuntamente. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Now I give China the floor to answer the questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As many distinguished international colleagues mentioned, historic monument site of ancient Quanzhou Zatong is a serial property that features outstanding achievement and the contributions resulting from the interchange and the fusion of values of diverse cultures, both tangible and intangible, through maritime routes over the specific period of the 10th to 14th centuries. The serial properties, both collectively and individually, maintains a high level of authenticity and integrity within the framework of the cultural diversity. However, in fact, in its report, ICOMOS has set a nomination precondition for this project that are not supported by the existing World Heritage rules and practices. That is, there must be a mature, integral thematic study of ancient international maritime trade and the cultural exchange associated with the nomination, and the attributes and the features of the nomination as an ancient port and the node of cultural interchange must demonstrate the urban fabric.
It seems that ICMOS, its evaluation report does not fully consider the commonly used way, which is indeed logical and practical of presenting a World Heritage Site that features as a monument and site. Furthermore, ICMOS in its evaluation report also questioned the authenticity and integrity of the nomination, with ambiguous arguments that are not supported by concrete information and related analysis. Even ICMOS seems to neglect the fact that some major restoration work carried out in the 14th to 10th to 14th century, but not in recent modern period. The City Party is in the comparative analysis provides related properties of monument sites and historical towns inscribed on the World Heritage List. Long before relevant mature thematic study was established. But ICMOS then explained its evaluation report that the case cited about the comparative analysis were inscribed because they were outstanding enough in their own. So the logic of ICMOS can be understood as the following properties can be nominated before the potential thematic framework is mature if they are outstanding enough. However, the criteria to justify if the property are outstanding enough or not should be based on the maturity of the thematic study. Such logic can somewhat is a chicken and leg paradox. This really makes us confused and helpless. Some senior international colleagues deeply share the same feeling about this. I'm sorry that I have to repeat one of the comments here whose reference has been authorized by the author, but that would make a little unhappy. The expert of the ICMOS technical evaluation mission was surprised after reading the ICMOS interim report and said, I have had a careful look at the report from ICMOS and I too am rather confused. The report in some cases I really do not understand what they mean. When reading the final evaluation report of ICMOS, they even comment the justification of the criticism of the submission by the State Party are extremely biased and negative. Indeed, the whole document is very strange. So as a result, the party has to request the committee of the ICMOS evaluation report by the committee re-examination. We are sorry, but we have to do so. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to the reporter to give us the amendments.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I have received amendments on this draft decision presented by Angola, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bosnia, Brazil, Burkina Faso, Cuba, Guatemala, Indonesia, Kuwait, Kyrgyzstan, Tunisia, Uganda, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. As you know, the original draft decision proposed that this property should not be inscribed on the list of World Heritage. The presented amendments instead propose that this nomination be referred back to the State Party. As such, the draft decision that you can see on the screen right now as amended details what additional information would be requested from the State Party, and it also contains 2 new paragraphs with further recommendations to the State Party as well as to the World Heritage Center to give special attention towards the preparation of a comprehensive thematic study on the maritime silk routes in collaboration with the advisory bodies. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments? Shall we add? Azerbaijan, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have just small precision in the paragraph 2b, where instead of define, we would like to propose describe, which will fully complies with the recommendation in the evaluation report of the ICMOS. So this describe word was reflected in the evaluation report of ICMOS, so we would like to keep it as it was in the ICMOS report. Thank you.
Is there any objection? We can replace? No. Okay, no objection.
So you can ask whether the whole decision can be now adopted.
Have you inserted the changes? Okay. Can we adopt the whole decision? Yes? Okay. I therefore declare draft decision 42, 8B, 18 adopted. Now I give the floor to Mrs. Roessler to explain, to clarify some points.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I have heard a question from Brazil or a comment from Brazil on the issue of serial nominations and serial sites. I would like to inform the committee that there have been reflections on this topic. It's the so-called Ettingen report, which is actually on our webpage. But this is a couple of years ago, and you have experienced quite a number of new serial nominations, even serial transboundary nominations, which came in from 12 countries. So I think the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center would be very happy to continue the reflections with the committee to encompass some of the concerns which were raised here in the committee. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I see China before we have the announcements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China appreciates and commends the decision adopted by the committee. China expresses sincere gratitude to the members of and experts of the World Heritage Committee for their scientific spirit, professionalism, and impartiality. As stated in the dossier submitted by China, the Quanzhou project has the outstanding universal value required by the World Heritage List, and the value it carries has not only important historical significance, but also positive relevance to the world today. China is willing to engage in dialogue and strengthen the cooperation with advisory bodies in order to inscribe this important serial nomination in the World Heritage List at its earliest possible dates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have announcement, and then we can.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So tonight you have at 6:30 the making of the policy compendium, which is in room Muharak, and at 6:30 also the Belize Barrier Reef Reserve Systems, the power of collective action, in room Hava, which is following the great success of the removal of the Belize Barrier Reef. And as usual, we have the Bureau tomorrow at 9:30. So have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We come to the end of our session of today. We see you tomorrow.